A historic day for Formula One. We'll tell you all about the stuff happening at Nürburgring. MotoGP had a crazy race at Le Mans. We'll tell you who is the surprise winner and what kind of action did we see at the Roval. That plus World Rally Championship wrapping up their race at Italy. Grid Live now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Great Live Post Race Show. Thank you for joining us on Sunday evening here on the East Coast. And I'm Kobe Lambert from the PodiumFinish.net. Right here with me, as always, Joe Samniego. We ended the race weekend with an eventful Sunday with NASCAR Cup Series racing at the Charlotte Roval, Formula One, and MotoGP. WRC wrapped up the Rally of Italy. But first tonight, we want to start off talking about the somber report from yesterday.
Yesterday, as we were wrapping up Grid Live post pre-race, we unfortunately received some sad, tragic news that had occurred in the auto racing community. Yesterday, 21-year-old co-driver Laura Salvo passed away after a frightening accident during a rally in Portugal. She was co-driving for Miguel Socias in the Peugeot Rally Cup Iberica. The Peugeot 208 R4 hit another vehicle that wasn't part of the race before hitting a pine tree. The rest of the rally was called off. Laura started her career at the age of 16 back in 2015. Past World Rally Championship champion Carlos Sainz Sr. and of course Carlos Sainz Jr., Formula One driver, were some of the many drivers to express their sadness over the news on social media. This includes Danny Sordor, who won the World Rally Championship Rally of Italy today. Laura was 21 years old. We'll have the latest update on Grid tonight, as well as Grid Girls, and on our social media platforms. It is also worth noting that today marks the 7th anniversary of the passing of Maria Di Villota. Maria competed in Formula 3 and earned an opportunity in Formula 1 as a test driver. Sadly, a scary accident nearly took her life in 2012 while testing for the Minutia Formula 1 team. That essentially halted her racing career, but not her spirit. She kept wanting to race again another time, making public appearances, but unfortunately, she passed away in 2013 from the neurological injuries suffered in that F1 test that previous year. She also hailed from Spain, where Laura Salvo was from. We here at the Grid Ranking are thinking of both families during this difficult time. Grief is a painful experience for anyone to go through, especially alone. Yesterday was a World Mental Health Day. Please, if you're feeling depressed or unwell, reach out to a trusted family or friend. We'll have a link to World Mental Health Day website for additional resources.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I know we talked about this yesterday, but it's always hard to report on stuff like this. And on behalf of everyone here at the Grid Network, our thoughts and prayers are going out to Laura Salvo's families and friends during this difficult time. And during today's NASCAR race on Twitter, it's been made aware that a motorsports journalist made an insensitive joke about a driver's mental health. And I just want everybody to know that that type of stuff is not okay at all. And it just shows that although yesterday was World Mental Health Awareness Day, there's still a lot of people who are unaware, and we just need to do best we can to educate people on these type of things because it is a serious issue and will always be a serious issue. And I just want everybody to know out there who's struggling with something that your mental health matters, and with a great support system, you'll get through it. And now looking at the Bank of America Roval 400 that took place today for the first time in NASCAR Cup Series history, we had a wet start. Everyone started on rain tires. However, it stopped raining, and then this is when the questions arose of when to switch to slicks. And the top mover of the race early on was Ty Dillon until the first caution. Ty and many others went to slicks. Others stayed out or got a new set of tires. Clint Boyer stayed out on the rain tires and was unable to hold off a hard charge on Ty Dillon, who ended up winning stage one, but had to pit at the stage break and fell deep in the pack. Was this a mistake?
It definitely appears like it was a mistake by Ty Dillon to make that pit stop. I know he had climbed up really fast under the wet conditions. He was the first driver to pit into the slick tires, came up through the field really quickly. They must have thought probably more vehicles were going to come in and pit. That wasn't the case. He fell straight to the back, and that's once he was in the back, lost all that track position. We see Ty Dillon get caught up in trouble as other drivers are trying to move their way up, especially some of the playoff drivers like Eric Almirola, Kyle Busch. They were back there along with him. All sorts of mayhem, and unfortunately, it seems like that was a pretty costly mistake by Ty Dillon's team.
Yeah, certainly. But at least Ty Dillon won a stage. I believe that was the second or third stage win of his career, and I'm sure Ty Dillon wished that it kept on raining because it seemed like Ty Dillon was one of the strongest drivers out there in wet weather conditions, and it just goes to show you like what we were talking about yesterday during pre-race show about about rain being the great equalizer. In this case, the rain was the great equalizer because in dry conditions, Ty Dillon would probably be running outside of the top 15, but in wet weather, Ty Dillon was definitely showing the other drivers what he had for him. And then on stage one, we only had one playoff driver score points. And then the green came out. We saw William Byron lead the first half of stage two, and Ryan Blaney led during the second half. We saw several spins, but no caution, including Eric Almirola, who was in a must-win situation heading into this race. And then JJ Yaley ended up bringing out the caution after a spin and hit the wall. What do you think of the race at this point with the changing track conditions? And I know I've discussed that is really crazy in these mixed conditions because when the track is drying, you have to try to find the wet spots on the track for the rain tires to cool them off. Because if you're on the rain tires and the track is bone dry, then it's just going to eat away at the tires.
Yeah, it'll just eat away at the tires. And it was just really interesting hearing Steve Letarte saying, I'm not sure how much longer these tires could go into drying conditions. It's just weird because he's a championship caliber crew chief, but he has never had to deal with calling a race under rainy conditions, wet tires. So it's really interesting race seeing how the drivers were adjusting, and seeing especially when it came to switching to the dry tires. Ty Dillon, his team, they took that gamble, and he seemed to really make that work because we saw Ryan Newman do the same thing, spun around not once but twice. Other drivers still had issues. Ty Dillon used that to get that stage 1 point win, and this I think is just something, especially next year when we have 6 road courses. 5 of them are in the regular season, only one in the playoff. Definitely is something for all the crew chiefs to learn, especially as we start seeing, okay, we get another wet race, drying conditions. We got to know when's the best opportunity to make a pit stop and pick up all those positions.
And then after JJ Daly brought out the caution, we had a late race restart to end stage two, and Kyle Busch ended up cutting down a tire. Ryan Blaney, stage two winner, and Alex Bowman scored stage points. And at this point, it didn't look good at all for Kyle Busch. And then when we got started again, Denny Hamlin went for a spin, and then looking at Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, and Kurt Busch, they were all non factors today at this point of the race. Did they put them? Did they put themselves just to race, get a good finish, and stay out of trouble?
That seemed to be the big goal from them. Just have a quiet day, try to stay out of trouble. Definitely, I would say Kevin Harvick managed to do that. Finished in 11th place, just one spot away from the top 10. Could have been, a much chaotic race like Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin was up towards the front, but a couple times fell towards the back, got in some issues, including some damage. Definitely have that good clean race. And then we saw Kurt Busch later on. He got up towards the front, was looking really good, and then him and Truex seemed to wheel hop or something, and then they both went spinning. So definitely, so those three knew they were advancing in. It just seemed they went there, try to have a good clean race. If they could position themselves for a win, that would have been great. But just have a good, clean, solid finish.
And then throughout the Thursday, it was like cautions come and go. And the bottom four were all struggling except for Clint Boyer. It looked like Clint Boyer, after he announced that he would be retiring from NASCAR to go to the Fox booth next season. So that Clint Boyer, he was a man on a mission. He left everything out there on the track today. And however, unfortunately, with 37 laps to go, Boyer made heavy contact and fell to the back of the field with a damaged car, and then Ryan Blaney, who was leading, spun out of the lead, and Ryan Preece took the lead with 35 laps to go. So a lot of things were going on at this point of the race, and then with 26 laps to go, Alex Bowman passed Chase Elliott for the lead, but with fuel mileage, nobody were 100% sure that they could make it to the end until a caution. Then the caution come out, for debris in the Matt Kenseth crash into the tire barriers, and then Chase Elliott ended up retaking the lead from Eric Jones and went on to get his fourth road course win in a row. And one of the big storylines, and he said he wouldn't be surprised if this happened. Kyle Busch was eliminated from the playoffs. What do you think of Chase Elliott's performance? Like, what? Wow, four consecutive wins on road courses. I think he's certainly going to be excited next year with six road courses on the schedule.
6 road courses, as they said in the post race show. Now that we got 6 road courses, you got to really step up your road course program. You can't just allow Chase Elliott to go out there. If he wins 5 of those road courses during the regular season, that is so many playoff points he could earn going into the playoffs. So definitely, if you're a team out there looking at how do we improve our road course program as a driver, you got to go in there trying to go for a win these road courses. No longer just the 2 races that are just sort of a break. Try to do your best, but don't go for a win. No, now you got to really go for the win because there's 5 of them in the regular season, 1 in the playoffs, and for Chase Elliott, this is just huge momentum going into the next round.
Yeah, definitely huge momentum. Yeah, Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott. I'm sure he's definitely going to be incredibly excited about six road courses next year, and I really do believe that Chase Elliott is the best road course racer in NASCAR right now, and also helps when you had the best road course car, and also and looking at Kyle Busch being eliminated from the playoffs, like you said, it's still 2020, and now I'm wondering if Kyle Busch is even going to get a win before the season ends. And it just hasn't been the season that he's been hoping for. And we'll definitely discuss more NASCAR later in the program.
A lot more NASCAR later in the program is going to be really interesting. And definitely, if you're watching, we want to hear from you, the viewers, in the chat room. We'll love to answer your questions, especially about the upcoming round in the NASCAR playoffs. Formula One at Nürburgring for the first time since 2013. Lewis Hamilton, he was on the front row, but it was Valtteri Bottas, the pole sitter. Bit of a chaotic start. Both of them went wide in that first corner. I thought Max Verstappen was going to go around both of them, get that lead. He wasn't unable to. Bottas continued to hold the lead, but then he locked up the tires entering that first corner many laps later. This gave Hamilton the lead, a lead that Hamilton wouldn't let go. Bottas started slowing though, made a pit stop, and was out of the race with mechanical issues. When this occurred, was there any concerns that you had that Lewis Hamilton may have mechanical issues later on in the race?
Well, I'm not sure if I really thought he was going to have mechanical issues, but certainly when your teammate has issues like that, and you obviously have the same car, you're definitely going to be worried that, oh my gosh, is the same thing going to happen to me? And we've seen in other forms of racing, particularly in NASCAR, if one team has a transmission, if one car has a transmission problem and they have a teammate and the other car has a problem and you're a four car team, then the other two drivers are going to be really worried about their car. I'm sure that was something of concern in the Mercedes camp, but at the end of the day, it wasn't an issue for Lewis Hamilton.
Didn't become an issue, and that's the thing. When one car has a problem, usually the other one will follow suit with a similar problem. We've seen it in Formula One as well as IndyCar, NASCAR, all over the place. Now, Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, fourth fastest in qualifying, but he was falling back, nothing going on. Sebastian Vettel didn't finish in the points, just a miserable race, including a very slow pit stop towards the end, and a strategy just didn't work with hard tires. How much longer can Ferrari and Vettel put up with their performance? And are they just really going to stick it out through the end of the season, or do you think at some point something has to change?
Actually, I think they're just gonna stick it out the rest of the season. The marriage between Ferrari and Sebastian Vettel, we already know it's gonna be over. It's been over for a long time now, and I think it's just gonna be one of those long, painful endings to a relationship. And it's just really, really, really sad seeing Sebastian Vettel in this position, considering everything he's accomplished in his Formula One career.
Accomplished so much in his Formula One career, was looking really good with Ferrari up until 2018, and seeing especially that German Grand Prix where he was leading and went into the wall seemed to be a big turning point for him and Ferrari's relations. Another person having a miserable race, Alex Albon. Flat spotted the tires early on in the race, had to make a pit stop, of course, change the strategy. Racing the AlphaTauri vehicles, again, flat spotted the tires, had to make a pit stop. He even complained on the radio that the AlphaTauri cars were racing him really hard. Team pulled him in the garage, said mechanical issues was the cause for his retirement. Is Alex Albon in trouble? Because it almost looks like he may have lost his confidence out there.
Oh, I definitely think that Alex Albon is in some trouble, and I caught a radio message during the race when he was complaining about drivers racing him too hard, and then Martin Brundle says, "Welcome to Formula One." Yeah, 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 yeah. And I don't really understand when they're like, "Why are they racing me so hard?" And I think Martin Brundle summed it up best in his response, like, "Alex, this is Formula One. Of course, they are going to race you hard." It definitely does look like that Albon has lost his confidence. It would not surprise me if he gets sacked by Red Bull at the end of the year, or and Red Bull's always full of surprises. He might even get sacked before the end of the season.
As you said, Red Bull is full of surprises. That could totally happen. A lot of rumors of who's going to be in that vehicle next year. Of course, especially with Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly was in that vehicle last year, got demoted down to AlphaTauri. I see nothing wrong with racing hard, and it is Formula One. Everyone's racing hard because you just are not guaranteed a ride unless you're a champion like Lewis Hamilton. But even then, as we see, when the champion is said and done, afterwards you got to defend and keep winning because if you don't, then you might be in trouble. In total, only 15 cars finished this race. The only one that went out because of contact on track was George Russell. Lando Norris' streak of finishing each race ended with mechanical failure and it brought out this last safety car. There was a virtual safety car earlier on, but everyone was surprised by an actual safety car came out. It was a little bit of a longer safety car period. We saw Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen complain about having the safety car go faster. Tire temperatures were dropping. In that late race restart, Lewis caught Max sleeping, pulled away. Max even locked up the tires in that final corner, almost allowed Daniel Ricciardo to get around him, but was unable to. Daniel Ricciardo gets a podium, third place. Max Verstappen second, and Lewis Hamilton took the win. The big mover of the race, Nico Hulkenberg from 20th to 8th place. With this win, Lewis Hamilton ties Michael Schumacher, and a very touching moment. Mick Schumacher went out there with a helmet that Michael Schumacher raced in 2012 and presented it to him. Very great moment. What was your thoughts, especially on Lewis Hamilton's achievement, 91 wins?
Well, definitely, Lewis Hamilton is what is going to at the end of his career. I'm sure. I thought, and I also think he can be considered this now. Lewis Hamilton is one of the greatest Formula One drivers of all time, and it's just been incredible what he's been able to accomplish in Formula One. And that was certainly a nice moment at the end when between Lewis and Mick, they say records are meant to be broken, and it was really special, with Lewis Hamilton achieving that historic 91st win. I'm sure that Lewis Hamilton is going to win many more races before it's all said and done. And next target probably going to be win number 100. That would be a real special victory for Lewis Hamilton.
That would be a very big deal in Formula One, especially for Lewis Hamilton. Of course, one of the quotes Michael Schumacher said was records were there to be broken. And I just thought this was really something I think very more exciting to witness. I still remember when Michael Schumacher broke the prior wins record and then kept winning to get to 91. Formula One was much more different. Bernie Ecclestone ran Formula One. We didn't see Formula One much at all. Social media wasn't that big of a deal prior to this period. So this time with social media, with the way Formula One used that, just seeing all the tributes of Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton, I think it really tied in and brought fans closer to the realization of how big of a deal this is. When Schumacher made the historic 90th win and then the 91st win, it was a big deal for race fans. But now, especially with social media, been able to share more from Formula One to potential new race fans, and then of course just allows people that are joining Formula One now to see who is this Michael Schumacher and maybe even start Googling and watching some old races. So I think overall, big moment for Lewis Hamilton, big moment for Formula One, and now with the access to social media and the way they've been promoting and sharing the story, really good for the sport.
Yeah, definitely really good for the sport. And looking at another form of motor racing, the WRC Rally of Italy concluded today. However, many in the community had heavy hearts after the news of Spanish rally driver Lars Salvo passing away in that horrible crash. And Danny Sordo started the day with the lead over Thierry Neuville, his teammate. A dramatic last day of the rally saw his half-minute lead reduced down to seconds. Elfyn Evans came home fourth, maintaining a 14-point lead with two races remaining. However, despite the addition of Monza, he needed a win to have any shot at the grid ranking, and has been mathematically eliminated from the grid ranking championship. And taking a look at the top 10, yeah, we have Scott McLaughlin on top. Then we got Lewis Hamilton, Kevin Harvick, Antonio Felix da Costa, Denny Hamlin, Elfyn Evans from WRC, then Scott Dixon, Sebastian Ogier also from WRC, Jamie Whincup, and then Joseph Newgarden rounding out the top 10. And Denny Hamlin was also eliminated from any shot at the grid ranking. And with three left in the grid ranking competition, we have we have Scott McLaughlin, Lewis Hamilton, and Kevin Harvick. And the closest finish was in 2018 when Marc Marquez won by zero point zero 0.01 points over Kyle Busch.
Yeah, that was a really close finish for the grid rank in 2018. Very exciting. Definitely going to be really interesting to see how this one turns out. And we'll be talking more about it, especially next week, Grid Live pre race. Now, another race that started under wet conditions, the French Grand Prix. For the first time since 2018, that was the last time we saw a wet race for the MotoGP. MotoGP again today. We had wet conditions, so everyone started on wet tires. Fabio Quartararo won the pole, looking to make two in a row, but no dice today. He fell back to ninth place at the end. However, his biggest competitor for the championship, Jack Mir, finished 11th. He was just not 100% today. Of course, we all know he went down earlier in the week. It was Daniele Pederucci took the lead in his Ducati, held off a hard charging rookie Alex Marquez in the Honda, who got all the way up to second place but couldn't get around Pederucci. He took the win. He becomes the seventh different winner this season in MotoGP. Just amazing. Seven different winners. I never thought this would have happened prior to the season starting, especially before Marc Marquez accident. Quarantaro's points lead is now 10 points over Mir. We still have 5 races remaining in the MotoGP season. The crazy part, 5 races left. Still, everybody is mathematically eligible for the championship. Kobe, was this a case of Fabio's lack of experience in the rain, or is just more of his inconsistency preventing him from sealing the deal?
Maybe it's a little bit of both. We know MotoGP doesn't always race in the rain, and then like you mentioned, 7 different winners this season. Who could have really imagined this before the season started? Probably would have said Marc Marquez is going to dominate this season. Marc Marquez is going to dominate, but due to his unfortunate injury, this really opened the door up a lot for these MotoGP riders.
It really has opened the door a lot for the MotoGP riders. It has really made it a very interesting season for them. Now, of course, with no rider really being going out there and dominating when it comes to the grid ranking, no MotoGP racers in the top 10. That is the first time in the history of the grid ranking that happened. Of course, we're going to have a lot more to follow, but essentially that was all the racing. But of course, we still have a little bit of NASCAR left to go over.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of NASCAR and a lot on the line. The round of 8 is now set, and the top 4 out of this round will go to the championship 4 at Phoenix. And you have 4 races left in the season. Only 3 races left until the championship round out in the desert. We have Kansas, Texas, and Martinsville left. And with Kevin Harvick, doing so well this season, do you think he's able to race a little bit harder now, knowing that he has a larger points buffer in comparison to his competitors?
Yes, I do see this as an advantage for Kevin Harvick to go out there and race a little harder. The mile and a half ovals, he's really good at. Don't go out there and just think, I got the points advantage. Just ride around, collect some points if you can, and then advance to the final four. No. Best bet, go out there, try to win Texas, try to win Kansas, so that way, Martinsville, you don't have to worry about points. So you just go out there, race, and really focus on Phoenix. The big thing for Kevin Harvick, he has such a big points lead. I think traditionally we may see another driver just try to take a little safe route, but I think Kevin Harvick, he is the kind of driver he's going to go out there, just try to dominate more and make the statement that if you want a championship, you have to come through me.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like if Kevin Harvick does advance to championship four, that he will win the championship because Phoenix is his house, and it's weird over at the podium finish when we do like our pick a winner things for the final 10 races of the season, we have to choose a different driver each round, and there's a reason why I'm saving Kevin Harvick for Phoenix because that's been the place where he's been known to run really well and win a lot of races there. So I definitely think Kevin Harvick goes to Phoenix, doesn't have any issues in this round. He's certainly going to be the one to beat for the championship, and we have a pair of mile-and-a-half tracks coming up in Kansas and Texas, and Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin are usually strong on mile-and-a-half. Does Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, or Martin Truex Jr. have a chance to win the mile-and-a-half ovals?
They do have a shot to win the mile and a half ovals. They're still going to have to go through Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick. Those two have been really good at Texas, at Kansas. So if you're going to want to go and beat one of those two at the mile and a half oval, then you got a shot at the mile and a half of Kansas and Texas. But still, it's going to be really hard for anyone to get through those two. Because overall, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, especially in the mile and a half ovals and most of the season, they just looked really hard to beat. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin win each mile and a half oval.
And then Alex Bowman and Kurt Busch both advanced to the round of 8, and they each scored one win each. And Kansas coming up. Alex Bowman's run well at Kansas. I remember he almost won his first Cup race at Kansas, and then Kurt Busch recently won on the mile and a half out in Las Vegas after that late race caution. How did those two drivers approach the mile and a half and then Martinsville?
Well, as you said, for Alex Bowman, he almost won his first career race at Kansas. Go out there, put together a good run, because if he could win at Kansas, that just saves the headache at trying to be in a must-win situation in Martinsville. He's in the bottom half of the points. Most likely, you're going to have to win to get in. Can't rely on the top drivers having bad luck and then pointing your way in. Go out there, try to get that win in Kansas. That's one of your best bets. For Kurt Busch, again, if you could put yourself in a situation where a late caution comes out and you just happen to stay out longer, put everyone a lap down, grab some good track positions, that'll be a huge opportunity to get a win. Those are the best bets for essentially both of them. Because at the short track of Martinsville, yes, they could go there and have a really good shot at winning, but so do their competition and everybody else in the field at Martinsville.
Yeah, and I feel like for Alex Bowman and Kurt Busch that their best shot to make it to championship four is just to go out there and try to win one of these next 3 races. I saw Alex Bowman win earlier this season at Fontana, then Kurt Busch at Las Vegas, and I do feel like if they were able to win a race within the next 3 weeks, that many would consider that an upset slot in the championship four.
That would be a huge upset if Kurt Busch was to get in the championship four. I know a lot of people will be talking about that because a lot of times, people still talk about Joey Logano winning that championship when he was the 4th seed. It's going to be really interesting the next 3 races, and then not Homestead, but Phoenix determine the championship. We definitely want to thank everyone for watching. Be sure, if you haven't, visit our Patreon page. We're definitely grateful for Colin, our first Patreon, helping to expand the Grid Network, expanding our coverage. We want to be at the racetrack starting next year. We already got media credential for 4 recognized series. Very excited. We're going to keep growing and keep producing good content for you, the viewers. And we want to thank everyone for also subscribing to us. We're up to 96 subscribers. So 96 subscribers, we want to get to 100. That'll be really big for everyone here at the Grid Network. And definitely encourage everyone to tune in. We got a special Grid Life pre-race coming up Saturday. We got the Bathurst 1000. We're going to go over the scenarios for Scott McLaughlin in the grid ranking, if he could win the grid ranking for 2020. Wednesday, Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. Thursday, Grid Girls. And definitely we encourage you to tune in. Kobe, this weekend, what was one of your favorite moments of this race weekend?
I know this is probably gonna sound really crazy, but watching the NASCAR Xfinity Series race on a monsoon, that was definitely one of the craziest races that I've seen in a very long time. And races like that, those are the races that I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life.
That was a very crazy race. I know seeing the highlights of it, it was just something else. Great job by all those drivers, and big congratulations to AJ Allmendinger on winning that race. Definitely, I think one of my favorite moments from this race weekend was seeing Lewis Hamilton and Mick Schumacher together with that helmet. For me, that was really huge to see the respect there. And then, of course, all the coverage, especially on social media. It's very, I know watching Michael Schumacher from Benetton to where he became, to see Lewis Hamilton now do that and setting and breaking records, it just makes it where it's like this is a wonderful time for motorsports fans to witness such history because you don't see this often. For Kobe Lambeth at the podium finish, I'm Joe Sanriego. Thank you for watching today. Have a wonderful day.